guys, we're Doctors R
and B, and we're building health today again. So thanks for joining us.
And so today the topic that we kind of want to go through is the cycle of how to get healthy according, to our blocks of health system that we find, it's not the only way, but it's the way that we find tends to be very relevant for people and has allowed them to get in a cycle of realizing like how they're doing things, how actions are leading into, like, we'll just run you through it. So
yeah, well, it's a cycle of how we work with people and how we implement an action plan, right? And how we see it allows for the most success, right? Yeah. So we want to go step by step through those and hopefully provide some clarity, and I think probably provide some clarity with you and I, because we each work with people differently. Of course we work together with people.
Off the same system, but just we approach it differently.
Which is the beauty of, and we learn from each other every day, and it can be not necessarily in disagreement, but more so just learning how to kind of fine tune things as we go. So we're hoping that would be drawn out in this podcast too.
Yeah. Cool. And so for us, the way that we see things kind of getting better are there's three elements that we see. So it goes movement, process, connection. And just to set this up so you guys can follow us, and then the subset of all those is movement breaks down into rest and act. Your process breaks down into nourish, eliminate, and connection is for yourself and environment. And so we really see that, again, some of it starts with, you need to start with the movement to then get the processing to happen, to get the connection to happening. And so we're going to start with rest. And
all of this, back to the elements, it's all about essentially manipulating energy. What would you say?
Yes,
moving energy,
to get
right?
the energy to move through, like via your actions. Ultimately, that's going to lead to what your process should be doing of like your how to get yourself to become better. Increase energy.
And it's all talking about behaviors, routines, habits. Yeah. That's what all of these elements, sub-elements are. So just wanted to provide a little preface with that.
Yeah. So we always start with rest. Rest is where we start. And so to really fill in the rest is going to be a few components that really kind of dive in. So this could be sleep. This could be, doing things like meditation. This could be things like, taking a break throughout the day, a pause. Sometimes you talk about doing the breath work with the meditation. This could be a nap in the middle of the day, but that's where rest kind of really falls for us.
Go naps. Those are my go-to. Yeah. Well, and what I always think of is a lot of us, pardon me if I'm jumping ahead, but a lot of people that we work with, a lot of human beings tend to focus or hyper-focus on the act, right? The move, the go, the act, because we're told we have to act to have progress. And that's action. Just, that hyper focus when allowing for rest first and foremost can be almost like this preparatory phase to allow for everything else to be more beneficial, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So the sleep, the pause, the nap, the meditation, whatever that looks like for you, but focusing or making sure there's some focus on that to have that balance.
Right. And the rest, some of the things I left off, is it also gives you perspective to take to just pause and look at like everything that's going on and just realize if it's really chaotic, hey, we got to take a pause or a rest so that we can get a grip on maybe like what's going on. And the other thing is that's when you're able to kind of like also prepare, is like kind of when you're resting, like in the action, you're so busy doing stuff. If you really want to set something up, and this is how everything works in the world, and that's why we follow this pattern, but like you take time to build. You don't just jump in and start building a house. There's like planning that goes on, like architects, engineers, everyone has to take a look at that and build their part. And that is some action, but like it all had to start somewhere where you didn't just jump in and start building the house. There are other pieces that you need to do to prepare to get there. So
well, and sometimes that doesn't seem like the fun, exciting part, right? But it's a necessary part of building anything, including your health, and just preparing and making sure that details are set, or that your that overall perspective is acknowledged before you move forward. So
when done correctly, like Dr. B's kind of saying, it makes the building so much easier. And then that's what we're all about. We want to make the building as easy as possible. And so rest is where we start. And so the big thing that we want to talk about is actually in the rest is the sleep. So, after, looking through research, and there's a couple big pieces with sleep that we found really interesting. It wasn't necessarily, what Dr. B will mention is not like the quantity, it's actually the quality that we found. And we always talk about getting good, healthy, organic sleep, like without using sleep aids and doing all this other stuff. Like you need to be able to get your body to fall, your beta waves of your brain, like to go alpha, theta, delta. So you're really getting that nice deep sleep.
Yeah. Well, and we have other videos and handouts that definitely delve into, how to accomplish quality sleep over just quantity. And it's about sleep hygiene and your sleep environment and preparing for sleep ultimately as well. And, not utilizing medicative aids, because those can disrupt different waves and states that you're accomplishing. So we have a ton of information about that. But basically focusing on the quality over the quantity, getting in, even if it's 6 hours, have it be solid, restful, quality, deep sleep. And then you wake up, like you say, happy. Yeah, overall happy.
And that was really interesting to us too. Like we found like a list of top 5 things that people do to make them happy, and surprisingly, the number one thing is sleep. And so that was, I think, a big shock for us to even just see that, because it trumps so many other things that we'll mention as we go through. So once you can get your rest going into, then we talk about moving over to act, or your actions, right? And this is where we want to start looking at. Now, a lot of people think of act with health, and this is going to be like activity, movement, exercise, which is a component of it. But we even like to say your actions, so like your habits and behaviors and everything that you're doing, like fall into act. And what we really want to see is those actions are then kind of leading to, they're like building you up, and you're not overdoing it, so that like you aren't able to get enough rest to then balance out like the act. So like these kind of need to like cycle and feed each other.
Because back to why rest is so important, it allows for the action, and there is truth in order to achieve progress, you need to take action, right? You can't just sit on your couch all day and imagine things. You need to actually get up and do, and in doing, you will accomplish progress, but like fulfillment, and it just allows for you to feel like you're productive in your day. So acting allows for progress, and that's a huge important thing too.
Right, because then you're just like dreaming up things, and that house never gets built, right? So you definitely have to get in there and start doing the actions. And so then the way that we look at it is then movement is now moving over to process, and it's not eliminate first, it's actually going to be nourishing first. And so 2 little segues, you always hear people, you don't want to lose weight to get healthy, you want to get healthy to lose weight. And so
I like that. Yeah.
And so there's a couple of things that we want to become important, because so many people are like, oh, I'll lose the weight and then I'll get healthy, but it's like it doesn't work that way. That's why you don't do eliminate before nourish. That's also like when we eat first, you eat and then we eliminate after. So there's things that just following the natural laws that like, you got to pay attention to this, and you got to do that if you really want to reap the benefits. But the transition of the movement to process is to all our actions, they need to be nourishing. If they're not nourishing you, then they're hurting you, and then those possibly need to be eliminated. But what happens is you start doing your actions and they become nourishing to you. And these are like things that you're doing for yourself, for others, like, everything. And we start getting into, everyone wants to know about diet and nourishing.
Well, I think one comment, I think when you focus on the nourishing first and foremost, when you start to bring in things that are good, it will like almost naturally allow for like ridding of the like bad, right? If you were going to say that. So as you're segueing or transitioning into diet, I feel like nowadays we're all so trained or told to, cut out sugar, cut out gluten, cut out soy, dairy, whatever the eliminate this. And not that I disagree, but it's such a limiting, such a restricted mindset, and it just almost makes you feel like, oh, I can't do that. And when I talk to family, friends, colleagues, patients, and they say, oh no, I can't eat that, I try and say, okay, how about I choose not to, or instead I choose to eat this. I choose these nourishing foods or activities or whatever to like take the place of this junk that I don't need anyways, right? So if you're focusing on filling your lives with what's nourishing, then it's like it just kind of transitions into naturally, organically getting rid of all that. junk, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And so then that's the process that we've talked about of like really movement is now leading to process of like nourishing that leads to elimination. And so eliminates a lot of things. I mean, we've put a lot of things, and we'll get into talks about this, but sometimes eliminating people from your life if necessary, possibly friends. Sometimes you need to eliminate time with certain family members if it's being toxic to you. That's up to you. You have to make decisions. But also like habits and behaviors will get eliminated. But like Dr. B said, if you're focusing on the nourishing ones, sometimes those eliminating ones start to fall by the wayside. It's not really the focus because you're just focusing on building. And this is where we say stop fighting, start building. You do the building and the fighting just kind of takes care of itself.
Yeah. And for example, I think, of course, we all can think of like social media, plugging into that in huge quantities is toxic, right? And so I've found that when I focus more on spending time with my children and being, fully engaged, during dinner time and wanting to spend time with you in the evenings and talk about our days and all that thing, then it's like, oh, and then it comes to bedtime, I think, oh, I wasn't on Instagram, all evening. Or, the thing that I wanted to eliminate just kind of like got lesser and lesser and lesser. You look on that app on your iPhone that we all have now that tells us like the time that you're on, whatever, social media or surfing the web. So, you can focus on eliminating, but also just, it will happen organically too. So yeah.
Yeah. And so the next thing is then, so we've done movement, we went to process, and then we go over to connection. And so again, the connection is self and environment. And so again, a lot of times we see people sometimes do this backwards. They want to focus on the environment. And so for us, in the environment is other people. So like other people is where all this like kind of falls into, where you're paying so much attention to outside that we're not paying attention to inside. And really, that's why they say if you want to see a change in the world, you start with yourself. And so that's why we say, again, once we've gone through the eliminate, we're really, everything we've done up to this point is building up the self, right? So this is about you, building up you to become the best version of you. And then that allows you to springboard into the environment of making sure you're having like healthier connections with family members, friends, to your work, to whatever your purposes are in life, your goals, and able to kind of achieve that and make sure your purpose then also starts leading to like a service, and that your purpose isn't self like fulfilling, but like there is a service aspect to that, because then that's also like creating more drive in you, more connection. And these are the important things that we're ultimately seeing. If it was meant to just be a person, it would be, a man living on an island, and that's not true.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think the reason we're talking about the cycle of how our overall theme here is, as you're going through, you're building yourself up, and really it's just gonna allow for you to be the better person to then be able to contribute to the community and fulfill your overall purpose. I don't know. It's just, I think some people focus on certain pieces and don't allow for the balance throughout all those elements, right? To then play with one another and allow for you to just build up overall. So that's the kind of reason I think I hear it through these cycles, is just a lot of times with the purpose, or with connection, we focus on the outside of how can I be involved? How can I, give myself? How can I serve? How can I, help other people? And then you're neglecting yourself. So the self is so critical to allowing for then you to bring your best self to the rest of the world. Yeah. Yeah.
And then some of the things that tie in for the rest of that, like, happiness list that we told you, sleep was number 1. If you went back to exercise was actually number 5. And then jumping over to connection, interconnectedness is really then going to be like friends and family and like connections around you. That
social
actually,
network, right?
That actually was number 2. And then, spirituality, which again, so we have some different opinions, but I feel like spirituality is really meant for you. Your spirituality is meant for you. It's not necessarily meant for anybody else. And that was actually number 3. And then again, going back to environment, volunteering was number 4. So these are the areas that we've really covered, and you actually see the list is really kind of like at the beginning and the end in a sense. And the process is allowing to like allow those things to kind of like move through and happen. So that happiness list is all contained, at least the top 5. There's more if you wanted a longer list, but the top 5 get covered in this way.
In this build out, this approach. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Happiness. And really, our angle is we're practitioners, we're doctors, we work with people, we work with ourselves, and health is happiness. right? If you don't have health, then that's going to be like your prime focus, because it's miserable to be unhealthy, and it's, relying on other people and all these different things. So having health is, I think health is happiness and freedom, truly, ultimately.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
yeah, and we want everyone to have access to that, know it's possible and know it's achievable just with what you got. Yeah.
And we also want to start giving you the tools to allow that to happen as well. And a little shout out, if the little thing that we just kind of described, if you go to our website, I believe there's a great picture of it.
Yeah.
Kind of like showing it, and we'll give a credit to MVMT Studios. They helped us kind of like develop that, like see what was in our brain and like bring it to creation. So I just want to give a shout out to them.
Yeah. And there'll be more information in the description as far as just that process. And we'd love for you to, plug into it, apply it to your lives, and see how it allows for that, how that actionable steps that you're using just to be more balanced and be more efficient and more effective for you.
Yeah, and see how you can plug into that cycle and make it work for you, like Dr. B's saying. And just remember, because we didn't do it, just to kind of tail it off as we're finishing, that cycle goes back. So then, after we've gone through everything, through connection, it comes back to rest, so that we can do actions, nourish, eliminate, self, environment. And that it's just a cycle that we just see like keep going.
Yeah, you can't just do it once.
No, you got to keep doing it. That's why it's day in, day out.
Yeah, unfortunately or fortunately, life is a constant effort. But as you go through and as you remind yourselves of those, those processes or whatnot, it just becomes like part of your life, part of your journey.
And that's why we say habits and behaviors and routines and all those things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So hopefully this was helpful.
Yeah, hopefully this is helpful. If you guys want more information about that, again, subscribe to our YouTube channel or the podcast. We'd love for you to sign up for our newsletter and let us know how we can bring better information, more information to you guys to continue getting healthy.
Yeah. Thanks for listening.
Take care.